I can honestly say that I learned how to work, like, period, just from being in her program.
I'm not saying that there is nothing wrong with switching teams. You know, I believe finding the right fit, but I also believe that when you in the right fit, stick with the fit.
Like, oh, what schools you go to? And he named like 4 schools. I was like,
bruh,
oh wow. Like, everybody older than me, like, they talking about stuff I don't even know about yet. Like, you know, it was a different environment. The practices were so hard. And there were days when I got in the car with my dad and I'm like, Pops.
Did you know that I have 2 books? One called The Little Girl with Big Dreams. It's about an ambitious little girl who overcomes every no to say yes to a dream. The other is called Changing Lanes. It teaches you about the things that you learn from sport and how it translates to life after sport. Be sure to check these out at itsjustdifferentpod.com. Let's get to the episode. Welcome to the It's Just Different podcast, where we bring people on who have been where you are trying to go and or have helped countless athletes get there. I am your host, Ashley Roberts, former collegiate player, real estate investor, author, just overall serial entrepreneur. Today, we have a special guest on. Played collegiate basketball, 2 Power 5 conferences, played at Duke, played at Texas, Hook 'em Horns, baby. Currently playing professionally overseas. She's been France, Turkey, all over the country. This is someone who loves the game of basketball, understands the game of basketball, can teach and coach the game of basketball. Kyra Lambert, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're currently overseas, right?
Yes. Yeah, I'm currently in Latvia.
What time is it?
It's 10 o'clock, 10 p.m.
Ooh, by the way, y'all, It is 2 o'clock right now. Kyra, I definitely appreciate your time for staying up late just to get on this podcast. That does not go unnoticed.
Of course. I wouldn't have missed it.
Where all have you been? Where all have you played?
Yeah, a little bit of all over. I've been to Turkey, Slovakia, France, New Zealand, now Latvia. So a little bit of all over.
All over. Well, Kyra, some of you may know, actually coached in our organization, and we talk a lot just, about how things are different. In the AAU world, kids are different, parents are different, whether good or bad. And it's how I like to start this podcast off every episode. So I want to ask you, what do you think is different? And this can be good or bad, in the youth industry currently.
Oof. I mean, it's a lot compared to like when I was in their shoes, what seems like forever ago. Um, One of the biggest things I would say was how like almost commercialized AU basketball is, and yes, it's still about basketball, but there's so much about like your personal brand, more pushing of like getting your own personal highlights out there, your name known. Um, like yes, people are still like playing a system type of basketball and stuff, but it's almost more so like get yours, and then everything else kind of falls after that. But so much is different. You could write a book about it. So
that's 100%. I ain't gonna lie. I think if NIL was around, now I wasn't the best player, but I know how to make money and I know how to strategize. I'm running up a bag. Like, it's happening. Right. I promise you, it's happening. So I think that I love to see these athletes being able to make money. Honestly, I think that's such a good thing.
Facts.
Yeah.
No,
so
it's changing the game for real.
I think it's bringing more notice to women's basketball.
Absolutely, because I would argue that women's basketball is one of the most marketable demographics in sports, period. You have so many personalities, style trends, things, popular culture. People are talented outside of basketball, and being able to market that and push stuff like that, I think is amazing. So NIL has definitely been a game changer.
Yeah, I agree. How long have you been overseas? How long have you been playing overseas?
This is my 3rd year, going into my 3rd year.
Ooh, so when did you start playing basketball?
5 or 6. When I was 5 or 6, I picked up the ball because my brother is like a year and a half older than me. So when he
Hmm.
picked up a ball, I was just doing everything he wanted to do.
And when did you get, I guess, when did you get serious about basketball?
Um, Mm, Probably I joined like my first like okay, I want to do this team when I was like 8 or 9.
Hmm.
Maybe it was like an all girls team. Before that, I had just been playing like like the co-ed leagues and just kind of out there to be out there. And then my dad and another girl's dad started coaching a team of just all girls our age group. And after that, like I think almost every one of us went D1. Now that I think about it, from like 8 or 9 years old. Um, but yeah, that's when I started to get more serious about it.
And you said your dad had a team. Where was that team at? Where were you at?
In Cibolo, Shirt Cibolo area, so a little bit north of San Antonio.
San Antonio, one of the San Antonio greats, y'all. We are listening and talking. I am talking with one of the greats in San Antonio. One thing I love about Kyra, I think she's modest, but Kyra got buckets in San Antonio. I was reading, doing my research, and I saw that 50 ball that you dropped. I don't know who that was, but I'm like, a whole 50 ball?
Oh my gosh, back in the day, back in the day.
Yeah, I seen it. So you said that you started, you kind of got serious 8 to 9, played with your dad's team. Walk us through that. What
Mhm.
was young Kyra like going from AAU? What did that look like?
Man, I was kind of like a lot of the kids are nowadays. Like at some point, I just kind of stopped listening to my dad. Like it kind of took another voice to kind of get to me. And one of the things I really appreciate and value with like my relationship with my dad, not just from like a coach player, but just like being a dad, is that
Mm-hmm.
he knew when it was time to like give me up and like let me hear from a different voice, put me on a different team. Which is when I went to Team Express and learned from one of the greats, one of my like mentors and all time favorite coaches, um, who had like been to where I wanted to go, played collegiately, played professionally, um, also a Longhorn hookem, but um, but yeah, he knew when it was time for me to go to the next level, and he gave me what he could give me. Of course, he was still dad, still supportive, giving me these pointers on the side, but he put me in positions where I wasn't the best on the court anymore, where I had to hold my own, where I had to keep up, where I had to grow in order to not just survive but then thrive. So I really do appreciate that and value that in our relationship.
I love to see Longhorns giving back. Shout out to Carissa Davis. When did you join her team?
I was in the 7th grade when I joined her team, so that was an eye opener from the
I was gonna
jump.
say, what was that like? I've heard so many stories.
Man, it was tough. Like, I can honestly say that I learned how to work, like, period, just from being in her program, from holding yourself accountable, doing the conditioning outside of the practices, being in those long 3 hour practices on the weekends. We used to do two a days on Saturdays and then one on Sunday, 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the evening. And
Hmm.
as a seventh grader, it was hard because I'm playing against my seventh grade year. I think was when like Megan Simmons, Ariel Roberson, Jasmine Sporov, like that was their
Ooh, y'all
like
had a
big summer.
squad
Yeah, like, and I was just trying to keep up. Like, I'm, just getting into junior high school, trying to keep up with juniors and seniors in high school, about to go to the Tennessees, the Colorados, like, Power Five schools. So it was eye opening for me, but I grew so much learning terminology, just like how workouts are, how you're supposed to carry yourself. Um, yeah, no, it was valuable for sure.
Now let me ask you, because you did coach AAU for a little bit. Do you think Clarissa could coach now? The Clarissa that coached you guys, do you think that she could do that same thing now?
I think she could, but I think it would take a certain type of like the kid and the parents would have to be bought in from the jump.
For
Because
sure.
like if you know Clarissa, you know that it's not like you're not lukewarm. Like you're
Hmm.
either bought in or it's like you might as well take it
You can
somewhere
go.
else.
You can go.
Right. Right. But if you're bought in, like it absolutely pays off. I don't know one person where it didn't pay off.
I love that. I love that. Shout out again to Clarissa. So many athletes have
Yeah.
come through that program and are doing great things.
Yeah.
I love to see it for women's basketball, for girls basketball. So you said
Absolutely.
seventh grade you played with her. Did you play with anybody else, or was that seventh grade throughout?
From seventh grade on, I played with her. Before that, I played for like a guys team for
Hmm.
like one or 2 years. That was valuable as well because it
Hmm.
was like more physical. They were more aggressive, more athletic, and you just. I mean, yeah, we were the same age, but it's a little different. You know, the pace of the game, trying to just adapt kind of in a different way, different style of ball. Um, but yeah, and then I played 1 year with a different team. Um, but it was like a short little stint. But once
Yeah.
I was with Team Express, it was raps.
So I definitely want to talk about that. I think now there are so many athletes that change AAU programs every
Yeah.
season. Sometimes during the season, like I ain't gonna lie,
Yeah.
you gonna see somebody in a uniform and next tournament they in a whole different uniform. Like it's
Right.
crazy.
Right.
It's funny, like after the season, like people always ask like me personally, like about my teams, and I'm just like, I don't know. I have no idea. Like
Right.
we'll see once we get closer.
Right.
But I love to hear that you stuck with one team from seventh grade throughout and you were able to reap those benefits. Like talk about that,
Yeah.
a little bit. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that there is nothing wrong with switching teams. I believe finding the right fit. But I also believe that when you in the right fit, stick with the fit.
Right. Right. No, for sure. Um, there's so many things. I really think that basketball it speaks to broader life,
Hmm.
and it speaks to commitment, loyalty. Um, when you have something and say it's hard or say it's not exactly how you pictured it, how do you respond to that? I'm not saying that everybody should stay in a difficult situation. By no means am I saying that, but I think that it does speak volumes um, when you're challenged and you respond in a way where it's not like a okay, I don't like this, so I'm just gonna go to the next thing. Maybe the grass is greener somewhere else because it's not always greener. Honestly, in my experience, most times it's not greener.
It's not
Um,
greener.
but but I think that like sticking with something and having stability, knowing a system, knowing a coach, building those relationships are so valuable. It's so valuable and it pays off not just in the moment, not just in a couple years, but honestly, like it's a life lesson. Um, so yeah.
I love to hear it. Now, obviously, everybody is human. It's natural instincts. Were there any times where, because seventh grade, how many years is that? I can't really count. Seventh, eight, nine, 10,
Like
5 years.
5 years,
5 years.
yeah.
So, were there ever any instances where you wanted to leave? Like, nah, this ain't for me. I want to try
Oof.
something else.
Um, there might have been like one instance where I was just like, oof. Honestly, it was probably that seventh or eighth grade year where I was just like, man, I don't know if I can keep up. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is hard. I've never experienced this before. Like, everybody older than me. Like, they talking about stuff I don't even know about yet. Like, it was a different environment. The practices were so hard. Um, and there were days where I got in the car with my dad and I'm like, Pops. He kept bringing me back. I'm like, I guess this is what we doing. But eventually, like once I like bought in, and I saw like the growth, and like I saw me starting to handle situations a little differently. Once I took that first, like big hit, or that first like say I turned it over and I responded, I gotta stop or something like little instances like that. I was like, oh okay, like I can hang with these girls. Oh
Yeah.
okay, like I'm getting better. You know what I mean? Like people my age aren't doing this right now, and that made all the difference.
Makes sense. I love it. So seventh grade throughout, you was with Team Express. When did you start getting heavily recruited?
Honestly, it was that first summer,
Mm-hmm.
playing up. I remember I was playing with because she had three teams, I think, at that time. I think it was like, yeah, I think it was three teams. There was like two 17U teams, and then there was like a younger high school team. And I was playing on that younger high school team, but we still had really good players like all throughout
Mm-hmm.
the program. So some of them were getting recruited and stuff. I remember the first live period. I'll never forget this. She puts me in the game. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, like, there was coaches around the court. Like, it was one of those games. I don't know who we were playing with, but they had to be all world because everybody was lying around the court. And she throws me in the game. First of all, she was like, she used to call me a little bit. She's like, little bit, go. I said, me? So I get up, I go in, and my eyes are just like huge, deer in headlights. I think I turned the ball over the first time I touched it. But it was kind of like that welcome to, like real live period basketball. Um, and it was just kind of like that, this is what it is kind of moments. And then I just kind of grew from there, learned lessons along the way. And yeah, it was oof, yeah, it was crazy. But from that live period is when I started to like get interest.
Mm-hmm.
Start letters. And this was back when they were sending questionnaires. I don't even know if they send
Listen, I
questionnaires
was about to
anymore.
say now, we have to break down. So when I used to get these letters, I used to be so excited, like telling my mom and daddy, like, oh, I got a letter. And my daddy was so realistic
Right.
because my older brother had been through this process.
Yeah.
So I would be excited, my mama
Mhm.
excited, and my daddy is like, that's a mass. Like they sending that out to everybody.
Mhm.
So he was like, whenever you get
Right.
the handwritten letter, they want you. Other than that, like
Yeah.
stop bringing me these
Right.
questionnaires and my daddy used to like low key hurt my feelings. I'm like, I just got a letter.
Right.
Like, dang.
Right. Right. Like I'm excited to just get mail right now.
What?
Like,
Come on now.
oh
So
man.
yeah, but
Yeah,
you
no, the
start getting the
handwritten
letters,
note's different.
it hit different.
Yeah.
Like I never forget my first one. It hit different. So you start getting these letters. When did you get your first offer?
I think it was that second summer. The
Okay.
summer, I think during or after my eighth grade year, I got my first offers from Kansas.
Let's
Kansas was my
go.
first
Eight was
offer.
that eighth grade summer going into ninth or seventh grade summer going into eighth grade?
Oof, I think it was eighth
Eighth going
going to
into ninth.
ninth, I want to say. Yeah, I think so.
I
Somewhere
love
around there.
that. I
Yeah.
love that. So I was just on with, oh no, Amber said Kansas State. I was gonna say I was on with Amber. Amber Gregg did an interview. But
Okay.
hers was Kansas State. I was gonna say Kansas was out
Okay.
here. It was Kansas State though. Okay,
All
so
right.
Kansas was your first offer. Do you remember that feeling? Like what was that like?
It was eye-opening. It was kind of that moment where it's like, oh, snap, this is kind of what you do it for.
Mm-hmm.
Like the work is paying off. People are noticing. Um, like maybe I should listen to my dad more. Like those kind of moments, and it was cool because like it's kind of like dating. It's like everybody likes to have interests. Everybody likes to feel wanted. Um, to some extent. So it was a new feeling and it was cool. And after that, it's kind of like after you get your first offer, more schools like get interested, and
Mm-hmm.
it just kind of the ball starts rolling.
Nope, I love it. I love it. So started with your dad, went to Clarissa, got your first offer, eighth grade summer, going into ninth grade. Had a phenomenal high school season. We're not going to even get into it. Y'all can just look Kyra up. She had a great, great season. It came time to picking a school. When did you pick the school, and what was the first? What was the school you picked?
Oh, okay. So this is I don't know a lot of people know this, but my I committed verbally to A&M first.
Oh, I didn't know
Um,
that. Okay.
Yeah, so I committed super early. I think it was like my freshman going into my sophomore year. I committed to A&M. My older sister, she's like 6.5 years older than me. She had gone to A&M, was currently there. I was a huge Aggie fan.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they were really good at the time. I think they had just won the national championship that year. Uh, Gary Blair is a legendary coach. So, and it was, I'm not gonna say down the street, but it was close enough to where like I was far enough away from my parents, but if they wanted to see me or if they wanted to come to a game, they could. So like the proximity was there, and then like a year and a half, maybe a year, I think afterwards, I like had realized I didn't actually give the full process a
Mm-hmm.
chance. So then I reopened my recruiting. Like A&M definitely wasn't happy about it,
Yeah.
but I gave everybody else a fair chance, and I landed on going to Duke. So
Why did you feel like you commit verbally, gave a verbal to A&M,
mhm.
which means you felt something? Why did you feel the
Right,
need to give everybody a fair chance?
yeah. It was kind of like a conflicting feeling almost. I felt like I didn't take other visits like anywhere else. It was kind of
Mhm.
really all I knew, and part of me, like, I'm not a homebody. So as I was kind of like going through high school a little bit, I was like questioning my decision a little bit, and I was like, okay, let me give everybody else a fair chance. And shoot, if A&M is still the choice, then it's the choice. But if it's not, then like at least I went through the process.
You went through the process. I love to hear that. Now, how did we land on Duke?
Yeah, so Duke was showing love pretty early, and when I reopened that recruiting process, um, like they were still there. I took an unofficial visit actually. I went out there, took an unofficial visit, loved it. I had family that was close by, like extended family, and just I'm a nature person. So like when I first landed, the trees got me. This sounds so corny, but like the nature got me coming from Texas, where it's like all roads and buildings and like flat land for the most part. The different seasons, and then when I got on campus, it just felt like a family atmosphere. The girls
Hmm.
were really welcoming. Staff was genuine. I had built good relationships with the people that were recruiting me, like the assistant coaches, Coach P, and I liked their style of play. And I mean, it fit me. There was opportunity there, like when I was gonna come in as a freshman. So
Hmm.
it was, and then let's not forget, like it's one of the top academic schools in the country.
Yeah.
So that part, like my mom, as much as my dad was like the sports person, like my mom was equally academics. So everything, as much effort as I put into basketball, like she made sure that I was putting it into academics as well. Not many people know this, but I graduated number 12 in my class, and that's a
Let's
lot.
go.
And like I really attribute that to my mom, just like pushing me, staying on me. Like if I was going to extra practices, extra trainings and stuff, like on the way in the car, like I was doing homework there and back. Like I used
Mhm.
to drive up to Austin for training and stuff, so like I was doing homework constantly. I transferred high schools for academics. Like I went into the IB program at Clemens. So she always made sure that academics was a priority, and me going to Duke was a reflection of that as well. So.
Yeah, and I can see that because as I was reading, I saw that you did transfer and you had to play JV. Like
Yeah.
most kids,
Yeah.
like if they got to play JV to transfer, they're not gonna do it. So
Right.
yeah, academics was definitely a high
For
priority.
sure.
Yep.
For
So
sure.
got to Duke. What happened at Duke? What did that look like?
Man, my time at Duke was nothing like I expected it to be, but not in a
Hmm.
bad way. Kind of in
Okay.
a great way. In a great way. And those that know my story at Duke are kind of like, "Huh?" But I went to Duke. I played my first 2 years. My sophomore year, at the end of my sophomore year, we're in the NCAA tournament. We're hosting. We're a 4 seed. I think like we got a great seed in the tournament. And the first game, we're playing a team, and this girl runs into me, and I tear my ACL. Had
Mm,
never had like a crazy injury, never had surgery, nothing like that before, and that like was not how I pictured
yeah.
anything going. Long story short, the next like 2.5 years, I tore it 2 more times, so 3 times total consecutively, and I sat my junior and my senior year. So I only played 2 years. I played my freshman year, my sophomore year. I sat my junior year and my senior year, and then I played my grad year at
So you
Duke.
tore your ACL
Um,
3 times.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
What
Yeah.
legs? What was that? Two on one, with one on the other?
All three on the left side. Lefty
That's
love. That's what I like to call it.
crazy. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So tore your ACL 3 times. You still was at Duke your grad year.
Yes, yeah. I did my grad year at Duke.
And how was that?
It was good. Like it was the way that it happened for me was a total God moment. Like
Hmm.
I get into the game. Um, I love the fans at Duke. Like they are family for me. So like I get in the game, everybody's excited. It's been 2 years since I even touched the court. I'm like emotional, like I'm just running around excited. My coach is like, Kyra, chill out, don't take any risks. Like but
Yeah.
I'm like running around, like all I know is like go hard, go hard. And the first time, like I think we got a rebound or something. The clock's going down at the end of the first quarter, and I launched this 3/4 court shot, nothing but net, and the gym just goes
I
crazy.
was
The
gonna say I
bench
know everybody
clears.
went crazy.
I'm emotional. I'm like, dang, it's still only we going into the second quarter. I feel like the game should be over. Like it was just a total God moment for that to be like my first shot back, 3/4 court, just Hail Mary. But like the love and like just the family atmosphere that I'll always have at Duke and for Duke is second to none.
I
So.
love that. I love to hear that.
Yes, we have merch available. Be sure to check out the site at itsjustdifferentpod.com to see if it's something you may like. All right, back to the episode.
And I don't want to glance over the injuries. I think
Mm.
ACL, that's one of the most popular injuries in women's basketball and youth basketball.
Yeah.
I've torn my ACL, so I tore mine in high
Mm-hmm.
school. Know all about it. I don't know if I would have been able to continue playing if I would have tore it 3 times, though. I don't know. One time,
Yeah.
I'm a little dramatic, so one time was was enough for me. But how was your
Right.
like mental? How was you able to continue to play this game of basketball, continue to love the game of basketball? Like what was that like?
Yeah, no, it was hard. I'll say like the number one thing that got me through was faith. Just
Mhm.
knowing that like God wouldn't put something on my heart that He didn't want me to pursue. And there were times, like don't get me wrong, there were times where I was like, man, like maybe I should be done. People close to me that were like, Kai, like you gave the game, like you don't owe this game anything.
Mhm.
Like you're good. Like you can walk away. Um, Family that was just like, nope, you're done. Like, just like you're crazy for continuing to pursue this. And I was just like, man, like I love this game. So much has come from it, not just like playing, not just accolades, but like relationships. And if I'm gonna leave it, I'm gonna leave it on my terms, not
I
just
love it.
because of an injury.
Mhm.
And like one of the pieces of advice that I will like forever cherish is Sean Hardiman. Actually, I called him one night. I was in my car, was having a tough time. This is after the third surgery, and I'm like, yo, like why is this happening to me? Like I'm mad, I'm frustrated. Look, like I'm feeling bad for myself. And he's like, instead of asking why you, like ask why not you. Like you're the perfect person to go through this. Some people wouldn't be able to handle this. Like this is your testimony, and what you do with it is is what you want to do with it. But at the end of the day, like you were built for it, and like I'll always hold that dear. So
Yes, for sure. Shout
yeah.
out to Sean Hardy, man. Out in Ball Hard, Austin, Texas, changing lives, killing the game. Keep doing what you're doing, Sean. So yes, so you have these injuries. Like, what were you doing? Most times, like I said, people tear the ACL, and like I personally know kids who tear the ACL and they sit around and do nothing, and they're not able to come back or they
Right.
prolong it. Like, what were some of the things that you did during that process, during that time, to make sure you came back stronger and ready?
Right. Right. One of the things, this is gonna sound weird, but like I didn't focus on myself a lot. Like I focused on myself as far as rehabbing things, but I was like, okay, if I'm gonna be out, like I'm still gonna find a way to impact my team, to impact the game.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, I asked the coaches like, can I sit in on, like y'all's meetings, y'all's film sessions? Like, can I be kind of like a liaison with my teammates? Because at this time, I had already had the experience. Like, I was starting my freshman year, so I had
Right.
a lot of experience on the court, Power Five. So like for like the freshmen coming in, my teammates that I know, you have teammates that um, aren't necessarily like as cool with coaches, or like they
Mm-hmm.
have different relationships. So like I was able to connect with them in a different way, um, and just always being in the gym, doing what I could, whether it's chair drills, form shooting, in the weight room. Um, all of those things, just to stay connected and to show my team like, nah, like even though I'm not on the court, like I'm with y'all. Like we in the trenches together, whether I can play or whether I can't. Like I'm the loudest one on the bench, first one to practice, last one to leave, whether I can play or not. So just like find a way where I can still impact. And then like rehab wise, my rehab for the last one was very different from my rehab for the first two.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a difference of like, it's one thing to be strong and like having strength, but it's another thing to be functional. So I think the biggest thing with my last rehab was I was strong, but I was more functional than just pumping weight just to pump weight. So
That makes sense. Okay. I like that. So did all of that, finished at Duke. I'm assuming you had some years left because you I mean, come on now. You
yeah.
didn't play. How many years did you have left when you left Duke?
So I had two
Two.
years left, but I only took one.
Took one.
Yeah.
Walk us through that process. After Duke, how did you go about making your decision? Um, we all know Kyra chose Texas. Hook 'em. Hook 'em. I don't know if
Hug
y'all
'em
can see my
horns.
hands. There we
Yeah.
go. Um,
Yeah.
what was that like?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, first I will say like I didn't leave Duke on any bad terms. I want to
Mm-hmm.
clear that like up front. I left Duke because there wasn't another degree for me to get. Like I got my
You done
bachelor's,
got
I
them
got my
all.
master's. Right. I didn't have enough years of eligibility to get a PhD, so I kind of had to leave. Because I'm not gonna stay somewhere just to get like a certificate when I can go get another master's somewhere else.
Right.
Um, so I went through the process, and I had talked to a lot of schools. A lot of schools reached out. Entering the transfer portal was wild to be in the transfer portal after you have college experience because your questions are different.
Yeah.
Your questions are different. Your perspective is different. Um, and it was COVID, so that was crazy because like people weren't taking visits. A lot of things were changing, and at the end of the day, because big part of it was because it was COVID, I decided like, hey, I'm gonna go back closer to my family. They've only been able to come to a handful of my games over the
Mm-hmm.
past 4 or 5 years. Why
Mm-hmm.
not, go down the street? It's a great institution, great school, high level basketball, and like even though it's COVID, they were still able to come to a lot of the games.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a really cool experience.
I love it. I love it. What was your experience like at Texas?
Yeah, it was challenging. I'm not gonna lie. It was very challenging, very different from Duke. At Duke, um, the style of basketball was way different. It was
Mm-hmm.
so funny in the preseason. Um, if people know the style of play for Texas, it is 94 feet of defense,
Mm-hmm.
like face guarding, like dog mentality in your face, like 40 minutes. At Duke, we were in a 3-2 zone 95% of the time. Like we might press, maybe, but we falling back into that 3-2 zone. So like the mental shift was total like opposite mentality being at Texas. And I used to joke with my coaches like, yo, y'all gonna have to give me a minute because I've been in the zone for the past 5 years. Like I'm gonna get there, don't worry, but y'all gonna have to give me some grace.
Mm-hmm.
But it was challenging at Texas. Like I learned that I knew I could do hard things, but I really learned that I could do hard things at Texas. It wasn't easy because like that COVID year, it was so weird. Being in a great city like Austin, being, I was what, 22, 23, 22, maybe 23 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, it's a great city, but everything's closed. We didn't even have a locker room that year. Like
Can't do
we literally
nothing.
nothing. We went to the apartment, we went to the gym, we changed in the bathroom at the gym, and we went home. Like can't eat together because of the what is it called? Um Contact tracing,
Mm-hmm.
just in case somebody pops up positive. It was like it was a tough year. And it was a new coaching staff. Players that they didn't recruit were there. Just me and I think two other players were players that they actually recruited. So that was a challenge, just getting like the culture right, getting people to buy in, including myself. I'm not gonna lie to you. Um, honestly, but it was challenging. But I mean, we went to an Elite Eight. We went to
Yeah.
an Elite Eight in San Antonio, so that was special. That was really really special. Knocking off some juggernauts along the way, so it was cool to see all of the tough times pay off.
Man, you just said a lot, and I have a lot of questions. Hopefully, I don't forget them because you said a lot in there. But one thing I want to go back to, you said Duke. At Duke, y'all was in a 3-2 zone most of the time. At
Yeah,
Texas, it was pretty
yeah.
much 94 feet man to man. One thing that really, really, I ain't gonna lie, get on my nerves in the youth industry and AAU specifically is that like everybody think, all of the coaches just think, oh, you need to play man, you need to play man. And if you're not playing man, you're not preparing kids for college. But
Right,
here you are saying at Duke, y'all was in a
right,
3-2. Like y'all ran a 3-2
right.
zone.
Faithfully,
Like like I every time,
faithfully.
because we do a 13-1-3-1 or we'll run man. To me, I think it depend on the team and depend on what's going on.
Yeah,
But we're gonna
for
hop in
sure.
that 1-3-1. Like it's
Yeah,
happening. And I never forget a game we
right.
played. A coach was like, after the game, like we won. Coaches was there, kids played well, and he was like, "You play well, you coach well, but in order to prepare your kids, you got to get them out that 1-3-1." And I'm like, it's schools and college that run zone, and I believe that zone
Facts.
principles and man principles can be the same thing. Like,
Absolutely.
so I love to
Absolutely.
hear that you said that y'all was in a 3-2 zone.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, basketball, like you trying to win. So if you know a team isn't going to be able to respond to something like a zone, like why not?
Right.
And like coaches change the game plans up. Like just last week, a team zoned us professionally. You know what I mean? Like it's at every level of the game. People change it up, coming out of timeouts. Okay, we're gonna go zone. Okay, then we're gonna
Mhm.
trap, and then we're gonna go back to like you gotta know how to play both.
I 100% agree. 100% agree with that. Another thing that you talked about was the transfer portal. You was in the transfer portal. How many years? That was what, 4
Just
years
one.
ago? No, I'm saying what was that,
Uh,
4 years ago or 5 years ago?
yeah,
4 or 5
yeah. I
years
think
ago.
5. Yeah.
5. The transfer portal is so different now. Like everybody in the transfer
Man.
portal. It's a whole club in there. Like what what are your thoughts on the transfer portal? Like how do you feel it's affecting high school athletes, if it is affecting them, and just your thoughts in general on the transfer portal?
Man, I'm gonna try not to make this a long-winded answer, but I have so many thoughts. First of all, I think that it is 10 times harder to get a scholarship as a high school senior
Mhm.
now with the transfer portal because a lot of coaches that I've talked to, they don't have like true freshmen on their roster. They're going to the
Right.
transfer portal first because they want players with experience. And they can get that because there are more people in the transfer portal than spots that
100%.
can be filled. So I will say it is harder for high school seniors now. I would say. Also, I think that it's not. I'm not gonna say people are wrong for transferring. Um, I will say that I think people need to be honest with themselves
Mhm.
before making the decision to transfer. Like, are you transferring because it truly is just not a good situation, or are you transferring because you didn't put in the work?
Mhm.
Like there's a difference between being in a truly bad situation where there is no way that you can be successful or thrive or accomplish whatever goals you set, and going somewhere just because you think the grass is greener. Because there are so many stories where people transferred and they're just as unhappy as
Mm-hmm.
they were at the previous school. So I think that people really need to be honest with themselves before they make that decision. I was talking to I was talking to a guy the other day, and I was like, "Oh, like what school did you go to?" He was playing. Playing professionally overseas. I was like, "Oh, what school did you go to?" And he named like four schools. I was like,
Bruh.
I was like, "Oh wow!" And then like it's like at some point you like some people transfer so much that I don't know. I don't think it's the schools. Like it might
Right.
be just you know. So I think it starts with that honesty and just knowing like, okay, I put myself like this is the school I chose. Did I do everything that I possibly could before I just pack up and leave? Just because it's easy. Just because there's no penalty for it now.
Yes,
Because
that's the thing.
before
It's no penalty.
yeah, before people really had to think and say like, hey, like is it worth me sitting a whole year to be able to play? Am I that unhappy? Whereas now it's just like, I'll go try over here. I'll just go
Mm-hmm.
try over here. And yeah, NIL makes a difference because there are bigger pockets other places. But that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. And I think it's like very similar to AAU. Like directors
Mm-hmm.
joke every year after the first live period in April. Like you see it all over Twitter. Like everybody joking, like, okay, here come the club portal. Like here come kids jumping from like every year. Here come kids jumping from team to team. And like
Mm-hmm.
again, it's like what you said, like if it's just not a right fit, because I do believe like you have to find the right fit. Like there are some teams you
Yeah.
go to that you shouldn't be on. But when I talk to some of
Mm-hmm.
these kids, like y'all done played on 3, 4, 5 AAU teams from your freshman year to your junior year, sometimes from your freshman year to your sophomore year. Like you
Mm-hmm.
just club hopping. And I just don't think it teaches anything. Like to me, it's showing that you don't know how to fight through adversity. Like one
Yeah.
thing go wrong, something go wrong, you want to hop to another team, you want to do this and that, and it just leads to college, and then it's gonna lead to
Right.
when you out of college, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I
It's a
think that
pattern.
yeah, it's a pattern. It's like teach the kids to fight through something, and understand why
Right.
you're leaving, whether that's AAU, whether that's college. Like you said, understand why you are leaving. Are you leaving because
Mm-hmm.
if you're a high school, if you're in high school, you're a sophomore or junior, are you leaving because you want to play college basketball and you have not seen a college coach at not one of your games? That's probably a good
Right.
reason to find another team.
Right.
Or are you
Right.
leaving because you got mad at the coach because they barely played you to save you from
Right.
getting exposed or whatever? Like, find out why you're leaving. And again, I think it's the same thing with the transfer portal. I think that there should be rules. I agree that the transfer portal can be good. Just like
Mm-hmm.
coaches have the opportunity, coaches got the opportunity, they get a better job or whatever the case may be, they can up and leave. It's no penalty
Agreed.
for them, right?
Agreed.
So for me,
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, if your coach leave, automatic, you can go somewhere,
Agreed.
right? I think I said this on another
Mm-hmm.
episode. If you're a freshman, I don't think unless it's just like something serious or life and death or something like that. But if you're a freshman, I do
Right.
not think that you should be able to transfer because
Yeah.
most freshmen they get to college, right? And they go from being the
Mm-hmm.
best player, taking all the shots, being able to probably do what they want, to now you got to work for
Mm-hmm.
something. You're a freshman.
Absolutely.
You shouldn't be able to
Absolutely. I
transfer.
agree with
Work
that.
through that. Like. So I
I
think
agree with that.
we can talk for an hour on the transfer portal, but I definitely agree. I think that kids one have to be able to work, understand is it the right fit, understand your decision before you make the decision. You talked about like
Facts.
yeah, you talked about like understanding why you're leaving. I think kids, parents, directors, everybody and trainers, anybody involved in a decision should understand why the kid is going to that school in the first place. You know,
Facts.
I think that's another thing.
Facts.
Like kids, at the end of the day, they're putting their trust in their directors and their trainers and whoever else. And sometimes these people are making the wrong decision and sending this kid to this school, knowing this kid does not need
Right.
to be at that school.
Right. No, I 100% agree. Like, one thing I will say is like a lot of people are choosing schools because of the name and
Hmm.
figuring out that, oh, like maybe I should have took a different offer, and not because it's the right fit. Just like you said, I know one girl, she had bigger offers, but she went to a smaller school and had an amazing career, ended up getting her master's, um, and thrived and is now playing professionally overseas. Whereas I know people who took bigger offers that were unhappy. It wasn't the right fit. Ended up transferring 2 and 3 times, um, because it wasn't the right fit, and maybe you don't ask the right questions, or
Hmm.
maybe it is just like a difficult situation. But there is a due diligence that I think every parent, every player, coaches, whoever's involved in that process, has a responsibility to do, because it should be a 4-year decision. It's not just a
Yep.
1 year renewable, like, oh, I don't like it here, let's bounce to the next one just because I can,
Right.
kind of
100%.
situation.
100%. So you don't walked us through when you started all the way up into Texas. What was it like after Texas? So you finished playing, you were done at Texas. Then what?
Oh, I went through it. I was like, I didn't know if I wanted to continue to play or not. At Texas, it was the best my body had felt since my injuries.
Hmm.
Shout out to Zach Zillner, best strength and conditioning coach, hands down, in the game. My body literally transformed at Texas. If you look at pictures of me, like from one school to another, I look totally different, and I felt different. I was moving better. But leaving Texas, I didn't know if I wanted to go into coaching, if I wanted to continue to play, if I wanted to use my degree somewhere, with a business or something. And I ended up deciding. I prayed about it. I, sought some wise counsel, and I was like, hey, like, I'm never. Once I put the ball down, I'm not gonna pick it back up. So I
Hmm.
might as well give this thing a try. So I went overseas. I got an offer to play in Turkey, um,
I have to stop
and
you
I
real
thought I
quick.
was
I want to stop you. I
okay.
have to stop you. I apologize for interrupting.
No,
But
you're good.
why in the world did you want to keep playing? You done tore your ACL 3 times. Like, what? Why was you like, okay, like, forget it. I want to keep playing. So I'm going to pursue professional basketball and go overseas.
Man, because I really thought that, and I still think I would have regretted it if I didn't at least
Hmm.
give it a try. Like, I had offers to go coach. I like
Right.
had like legit offers to go coach, and um one of like the best offer that I had um was like, Kai, I know like this is an opportunity for you, but if you feel like you're gonna regret not taking the opportunity to go overseas, don't take it.
Yeah.
And she was just very honest with me, and I really appreciate it, because I might have like just not given it a try,
Hmm.
and here I am 3 years later still playing
I
without a
love it.
brace.
Without a brace.
Without a
Shout out
brace.
to that. Without a brace. I love
Man.
it. All right, so back to that. I just had to ask that question because I ain't gonna lie. I'd have been done. Like I done got my degree. I'm done. So
Right,
walk us
right.
through that process.
Yeah, so like I prayed about it, sought wise counsel, um, and I just bet on myself,
Mm-hmm.
and I got overseas, and that was a culture shock. Like, people think I'm so dramatic, but this is literally what happened. I get to Turkey. I'm the only foreigner on my team, so I get
Mm-hmm.
to Turkey, and in Turkey, it's not like a France or a Germany or Spain, where you can find people that speak English. There was one person who spoke fluent English in my entire club, and it
Wow.
was my teammate, because she had played in America and her husband was from America. So I was like, oh, this is a culture shock. So I get there, the living situation is, let's just say, subpar, and I legit cried like for a week. Like, and I'm not a crier. I was like, wow. And eventually I was just like, you know what? there's this 8 hour time difference. I'm by myself most of the time, and I really just it was kind of like a wilderness experience for me, like spiritually, and it was literally me and God, and I was just getting closer to Him. I was like figuring stuff out mentally, emotionally, and just like focused on I'm here. I'm gonna give everything that I have, and I had a great season. I had a great season. I was there for half a season. I got my stats and I got out of that situation. I played my way into a better situation, which is when I went to Slovakia, finished the season there. Um, and that got me to New Zealand. And it was just kind of like ever since then, I've just been going up and up and up. After New Zealand, I get to France, which is one of the top 3 leagues in the world. Um, so it's just like blessing after blessing after blessing. And what I thought was gonna be, a one and done, like, okay, I did it, and
I
then
did it,
come
yeah.
back, to America, and I'm in year 3. Blessed to be here and just trying to work my way up. And whenever it is time to drop the ball, or I'm not gonna say drop the ball. Whenever it is time for me to put the ball down, I pray it's on my terms,
Hmm.
and that I'm content and satisfied um, with how everything worked out.
Man, I love it. I love it. Obviously always known you as a player, Kyra. Never really knew your full story until we got, connected even more with you coaching. I've always admired your story, always
Yeah,
admired your hard work. But one thing
I
that I
appreciate
have
that.
really, no problem, one thing that I have like really, really admired about you is that your ability to coach basketball. Like I don't think that everybody that have played basketball can coach it, right? It's just different. Like
Yeah.
I do not think that they can do that. And you coached with us. I don't even remember. It was before you. Maybe was it before you first went overseas or when you came back?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, before
Yeah. I
you
think it was when
came.
I before.
So you was what, 22, 23?
I think 23. Yeah,
23,
23.
23 years old. And honestly, most times when I get a new coach, like I have to follow them a lot. I have to do a lot of different things, especially like you coach one of our national teams. So we're traveling,
Yeah.
we playing in different tournaments, right?
Hmm.
And still to this day, like I'm not lying, still to this day, players, parents ask about you. When is Coach Kyra coming back?
Oh.
Literally, still to this day, I gotta shout out Ayana. Ayana asks about you all the time.
Yes.
But it just goes to show the impact that you left on kids, like your ability to coach them and to coach them without screaming at them, without yelling at them, like being able to break things down. And I'm telling you, that is hard to find in coaches. So I know for a fact when you do drop the ball, if coaching is something you want to do, you're gonna kill it. Like I cannot wait to see it. You're definitely gonna kill it.
I appreciate it. I
No problem.
appreciate
No
it.
problem. Going back to like professional basketball, all these different things. Obviously, you're continuing to play. You got to continue to work on your game. Like I see on social
Yeah.
media, and you're gonna have to say his name because I'm drawing a blank here. But the person you
Yeah.
trained with in San Antonio, I know you trained a lot with Sean. Here
Yeah.
recently, I've seen you training with the guy in San Antonio. You'll say his name in a minute. I can't think.
Tim. Yeah.
Tim, yes, there it is. I could
Yeah.
not
Tim
think of it.
Springer.
And he does an amazing job. When I watch your videos, you are working on things that translate to basketball. Most of it is just
Hmm.
basic fundamentals, right? Like I would love for you
Yeah.
just to kind of talk about training. I think that that's
Yeah.
another big thing in basketball now where parents don't really understand like who should be training my kid. What should they be working on? I'm tired of seeing some of these videos, Kyra. Like I'm tired of it. I'm over it. And I
Yeah.
think that most parents, the trainers, or I don't even want to say the word trainer, people who are working with kids, whatever the case may be, because
Right. Right.
everybody's working with kids now, so I'm not even say trainer.
Right.
But there are people doing some really good things, and it's the basic stuff, it's the fundamentals, it's little things that you need to work on. Parents not for that.
Hmm.
They want to do all the flashy things. They want to do the 4 and 5 dribbles.
Right.
Like, talk to us about that. What you're doing in training, what you think kids should be focused
Hmm.
on in training.
Right. Um. So I'll start like with like me like professionally because my training has evolved over my career. So like specifically this past summer, it was a lot of just game situations. Like basketball is not a complicated it's not as complicated as people make it seem. A lot of it is just like repeated actions, simple movements, understanding footwork. I think is fundamental to the game. I think that that is something that's underrated and undertaught. Um, but it's a lot of like just game actions. I'm a player that plays with the like I play with the ball in my hand 90% of the game. Like 90% of my shots come off of the bounce. Just by nature of how I play in the system that I'm in right now, and just putting myself in those game situations, coming off of ball screens, getting to my spots. Like a lot of it's basic one dribble pull up, maybe like a step back, something like that, get into the lane, different finishes. But it's a lot of times in a game, like I'm not making 3 and 4 moves. Like
Mhm.
overseas, it's like, okay, if you got like a half a second, maybe a second to make a decision, or the ball needs to be out your hands. Like if you're not doing something productive, ball needs to be out your hands. Next pass, extra pass, get to the lane kick, get to the lane finish, those kind of things. So it's really my training has evolved to like it's simplified. It's more simplified now. Whereas like when I was younger, like I needed the reps. I needed like that base of like a lot of ball handling, getting comfortable using both hands. Like different types of finishes, honing my footwork. So like doing ladder drills, doing it with the ball in my hand, things like that, to where those patterns became like I didn't even have to think about them anymore. So if I was in like one specific situation, like it was second nature for me to handle it and keep going. Like it was like I
Mhm.
wasn't even thinking about it. So it's definitely evolved over time, but I think that not everybody that calls themselves a trainer is actually training your kid.
Yep.
Um, Honestly, it's easy to call yourself a trainer and it just be a money grab. Like just
Mhm.
because people have a name, or because like they played, just like coaching. Like not everybody who played can coach. Not everybody who played can train. Um, so I would say just be wary, and is what people are teaching actually translating into the
Mhm.
games? Like, are you seeing difference in your kid as they're training? And is the trainer working on the mental piece? Because honestly, I'd say 80% of basketball is mental.
100%. It's
Because,
mental for
you know,
sure.
I know people who are always in the gym, but like just mentally, like it's just hard to get over that hump. Or I know people who aren't as skilled, quote unquote, but like mentally they got that dog in them, and it makes up for a whole lot. You
Whole
know what I
lot.
mean? I
That's
see people
listen.
people get scholarships off of that mental piece.
Listen, that was on my mind when you said that. Like I know people who, and I'm not saying they wasn't good, like not saying that at all, but wasn't, like you said,
Right,
as skilled, but was confident. You couldn't tell them they couldn't shoot. You couldn't tell them they weren't about to
right,
lock somebody up. Like, and it
right.
got them looks. Like sometimes your confidence makes up for a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like people,
Absolutely.
just in general, people love being around people that's confident. Coaches love recruiting
Yep.
kids that's confident. Not necessarily
Yep.
cocky, finding that balance, but very confident
Mm-hmm.
in what they do and what they can bring to the table. So
A
that's
hundred
spot on.
percent.
Yeah, that's spot
Absolutely.
on. I do want to ask, as we start to kind of wrap it up, if you had a kid playing AAU basketball, how would you go about choosing the team for them?
Mm. Um. Oof, that's a good question. One, I would see kind of like track record, like does this program has this program put like kids in college, and does this program care about my child more than just what they can do for them on the basketball court? Like, for example, with Team Express, I can call Coach Clarissa texted me like a couple days ago.
Mm-hmm.
And
That
you know what I mean?
relationship.
Like, it's the relationship piece, because at the end of the day, like basketball, like yes, it's a game, and yes, it's important to a lot of people, but it's a vehicle in my mind. Like it's a vehicle that has opened so many doors, so many relationships. Because one day the ball will stop bouncing, and you're gonna have to make a decision and know what to do with it. And it's those relationships that are gonna be timeless, that help you along the way. So, like are you choosing a program that is going to help your child beyond just the game? I
Hmm.
would say, but it's easy for me to say because this is in hindsight.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like track record and then that relationship piece to
Yeah.
me
And
would be most
I
important.
think it's so hard. And like, obviously people say track record a lot, right? Um,
Mhm.
I'm gonna come in just with that just a little bit because I do think track record is very important. But like I'll take us for example, competitive edge. If somebody wanted to come play with me 2 years ago, or what was this?
Mhm.
Yeah, 2 years ago, there is no track record. I haven't put
Right.
anyone in school, right? But I guarantee you I can
Right.
probably call any coach. And
Exactly.
if I don't have the contact, I can text somebody. How many times did I text you, Kyra? You got this number? Who you got
Right.
this number?
Right.
Right?
Right.
So
Right.
I think it's a give and take when we talk track record. I think it's
Mhm.
more relationships and connections, right?
Facts. I agree.
Because
I agree with that.
somebody can look at it and say, "Oh," and people would say that was like our
Mhm.
knock a lot. "Oh, she ain't put
Mhm.
nobody in school. Why would you go play there?" Right? And it was
Mhm.
solely because we never had a graduating class. You know,
Right.
when you
Right.
take it a step down, anything that you're building, it's a process. So
Yeah.
most of our kids are getting D2 looks, which to me, I'm always D free. D1, D2,
Mhm.
JUCO, I don't
Facts.
care where you're going.
Facts.
Like,
Right.
can we get you to school for free or as little out of your parents' pockets as possible, right?
Right.
As we
Right.
have evolved, as time has passed on, we're getting different levels of kids. Now we're getting some of these kids
Mhm.
that D1 coaches are looking for. I'm never going to sell a
Mhm.
kid to a coach like, oh, recruit this kid. And a coach, I don't expect a D1 coach to recruit a kid that can't play at that level, right? But
Right.
we got the
Right.
relationship, and when that time comes, it's able to happen. So I
Facts.
do agree that track record is important, but I think what's more important, I guess, since I've been in this is the
Mhm.
relationships, and like you said, the
Yeah.
relationships both ways, kid and coach,
Mhm.
director and college coach. Like I think it goes
Facts.
both ways.
No, facts. And that's one thing that like I've always spoken of and like have really appreciated and loved about competitive edge is it's not just like the relationship piece, but you're being coached by people who have been to where you're
Hmm.
trying to go.
Hmm.
Like most AU programs ain't got that. Like to be coached by somebody who can literally jump into practice with you and give you buckets.
Right.
Like humble yourself, young buck. Like we know what we talking about, you know. But it's like we've been to where you want to go. Like the coach knows what they're talking about, and knows like the questions to ask, can help you through the process, can make those calls. Has like I have so many college coaches' numbers in my phone just from the recruiting process still, and it's
Hmm.
like if you need to call, like 10 coaches on the staff got a number that they can call on any level, and I think that's one of the biggest things that separates competitive edge from most AU programs.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. The very last thing
For
that I have
sure.
for you is what do you think, and we kind of probably just talked about it, but what do you think is the most important thing of AAU?
mm. um oh, that's a good one. The most important thing of AU, just like as a whole,
As a whole?
I would say honestly the relationships.
Hmm. I knew
some of
you would
my
say that.
some of Some of my closest friends and closest relationships have been a result of AAU. Like I just got off the phone with the old AAU teammate,
Hmm.
and we keep in contact. And even now, like seeing people doing their things. Like some of my former teammates are doctors, lawyers, got kids, and we still keep in contact. It's so good to see people thriving and seeing that basketball is that vehicle. Like it got them a free education, and now like they're doing life and they're thriving in whatever path like they chose. So I would say those relationships are invaluable, and I would give a lot to play one more season One more season of AAU because there's nothing like it.
It's nothing like it. I miss AAU so bad. It's nothing like
Yeah.
it. It's nothing like it. Man,
Yeah.
this was good. As we come to a conclusion, I always conclude with what I call rapid fire. Got you. I got 5 questions for you. Whatever come to mind, you answer it. And
Okay.
whenever you ready, you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. Best teammate you have played with.
That one's hard. There's too many to count. Because if I say one name,
You
somebody's
gotta
gonna
give me
call
one.
me and be
Nope. You
like,
gotta give me one. You gotta pick one.
best teammate. I'll say a Duke Bogak. A Duke Bogak. She went to Florida State. We played together in France. Just great overall person. Super
Hmm.
professional. Great player. Great person. Those game day brunches. Absolutely love them. So yeah, I say a Duke.
And I want to shout out, if we talking about the same person, I think we are. She went JUCO first, right?
Yes.
Went to Trinity
Yes.
Valley. That's what I
Absolutely.
thought. JUCO product,
Yeah.
went to D1, now playing professional. Favorite
Yeah.
college player. Who's your favorite college player right now?
Right now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, snap. That's hard.
Or we can go
Favorite
back for
college
when you
player.
played.
When I played, favorite college player. I'm gonna go way back. I'm gonna say Elena Beard.
Okay.
I'm gonna
I'll
say
take
Elena
that.
Beard.
I'll take
Yeah.
that. Your biggest ick as a player.
Oof, when people clap for the ball. Like I am here, I am a point guard because I got court vision. If you think you open and you not getting the ball, you not open. Like
Facts.
I'm gonna get it. If you open, I'm gonna get it to you. You ain't gotta clap. That is my biggest ick for sure.
Best player you have played against.
Ooh. Best Asia Wilson.
Okay. And who is someone you look up to and admire?
There's a lot of people.
Uh,
I'll say Elena Beard.
okay.
Elena Beard.
So it is.
Yeah,
Do you
shout out
guys
to
have
her and what she's doing.
personal relationship, or is it more just like distant?
No, we have a personal relationship. We have a personal relationship. But what she's doing for people, um, like she's retired now, but like what she did for the game, both
Mhm.
on and off the court, and just the impact that she has in her community and beyond is incredible. And she's really changing the game for women's
I'm
basketball
gonna have to
and
get
for
Elena.
athletes.
I'm gonna have to get on the podcast, so I might need that connect.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Nah, that's dope. So we started the podcast with what's different in the youth industry. We're gonna kind of end the podcast with what will be different about Kyra in 3 to 5 years.
Um, ooh, I mean, with time comes more experience, more knowledge, more understanding. So I'll say I'll just be continually growing and evolving, and I hope who I am in 3 to 5 years isn't who you're seeing right now.
Hmm.
I think that people constantly change and evolve. So yeah, hopefully I'm just bigger and better 2.0.
I love it. Well, there you have it. Kyra, tell everyone where they can find you on social medias, whatever. And I would love for you to leave a message to our parents, players, as it relates to AAU, youth industry, any gem that you want to drop for them.
For sure. Um, I'll start with the gym. So honestly, just stay whatever you believe in, stay faithful to that. Believe in yourself, bet on yourself, and just don't limit yourself. Put yourself in an environment where you're able to grow, where you're challenged. Um, Put yourself in an environment where you're not the best so that you have to, go through a little bit in order to get to where you need to go because that'll pay off dividends well into the future. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. Either search Kyra Lambert or KY_Lamb15. And yeah, that's all I got for you. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Thank you for being a guest. This was an amazing episode. So many gems has dropped. Thank everyone. Thank y'all for tuning in, for watching, listening. I appreciate it. Be sure to like, share, subscribe. My goal is to get this podcast out to anyone possible, any parent, any player that is playing youth basketball, or a parent that has a kid playing. I appreciate it. If you were listening, don't forget to leave us a review if you enjoyed this podcast. We love 5-star reviews. That's all we got for today, and we'll see you next week.